Greetings! It is a joy to be with you in this virtual space. Our church community welcomes you whether you're new or a longtime member. We especially want to welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time. If you would like to learn more about our community and its online offerings, please go to nsuc.org and sign up for our newsletter. There has never been a better time to get involved or to become a member of our church. We'd love to get you connected. Welcome. And now we have something special for one of our members. I know that the video quality isn't great, but I know that all of you will agree with the sentiment.
Hi, North Shore Unitarian Church. This is Diane Alberry, and it's Kathy Alberry's 90th birthday. And we want to wish you happy birthday, Mom, and let all of her friends at the church know that she's 90 years old today. Happy birthday, Mom. We love you.
My beloved companions, we gather today with hearts weighed down by the loss of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whose persistent dedication to justice and equality for persons of all genders was truly in alignment with our own. And today's message is one of hope. I am grateful for the capacity of our human hearts to hold so many different emotions all at once. And so in the spirit of the complexity of our human experience, I open our worship today with these words from the Reverend Laura Wallace. As frozen earth holds the determined seed, let this sacred space hold our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and the hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together. Let us worship.
And so we light our flame. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
This week, the pods on several of my milkweed plants broke open, the long and chambered seeds bursting forth like children at the end of a long day of Zoom school. With 700 formerly pent-up seeds released from each pod, my backyard is alive with these little fairies dancing about in the air. It is magical. This is a time of transitions. Summer days into fall responsibilities, short sleeves into sweatshirts. In the natural world, a different type of transition is taking place. The plants are shifting their energy from vegetative growth, making leaves and stems, to the production and dispersal of seeds. I think that my 3-year-old son and I are equally fascinated by the milkweed seeds, the way they drift and soar on their long, silky threads known as comas, and the tug of war between the lofty white coma parachute and the heavy brown seed. A seed that is, at once, everything that has come before it and everything that it can be. It is both the past and the future. It is, this tiny thing, the summation of all of the sunlight, water, and elemental additions from summer days of not only this year, but all the summer days that have come before it. The gradual addition of the elements, the sunlight, the water, all of the time that brought the seed to me here, right now, in this place. At the same time, so many milkweed plants going forward may proceed from this tiny thing. Of course, not all of the milkweed seeds in my backyard will grow into plants. Some will be eaten by rodents or small animals, the energy contained within them sustaining another organism, another species, through the days that are ahead. Here we are, today, now, in between past harvests and future plantings. Let us take a moment to celebrate everything that has brought us to this point, the sunshine and the storms, the joys and the sorrow, and imagine all that is possible in the seasons that are ahead.
North Shore Unitarian Church is a community that is grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. We accomplish this mission through the generous donation of our members and friends. And so we invite you to text your donation now. Please note that in order to give, you must include NSUC, the designated fund, and the amount.
And so I would like to invite us into a moment of prayer for another great loss that has affected so many of us this week. O gracious Spirit of life, let us pause to give thanks for the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for the ways that she helped our country live closer to its ideals, especially for women and for groups who live on the margins. We are in gratitude for the ways that she made life a little bit more livable for those on the margins, those whose very right to be and to have agency and to love and to vote are put into question. For some of us, fears are gathering in our hearts like a dark storm about what is to come next. And this is especially true for those whose rights are often an open question rather than a settled answer. So, Great Spirit, help us to remember the ways that life does journey on from here, and we together will find new ways to increase our love in the world, and that the struggle is now ours to take up and live out, and that we can be here for each other even in the midst of times of great uncertainty, especially in the midst of times of great uncertainty. May we find ever new ways to live out the love and justice that this community stands for, drawing from the wisdom and the example of all the great leaders who have come before. May it be so. May we find peace and hope. Amen. And this next song is going to be sung by Sam Grosby, and it is from the Jewish tradition. It is an invitation for us to turn our hearts to peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim
This reading is called The Growing Edge, and it is by Howard Thurman, the great spiritual leader and civil rights activist. Look well, then, to the growing edge. All around us, worlds are dying and new worlds are being born. All around us, life is dying and life is being born. The fruit ripens on the tree, the roots are silently at work in the darkness of the earth against the time when there shall be new leaves, fresh blossoms, green fruit. Such is the growing edge. It is the extra breath of the exhausted lung, the one more thing to try when all else has failed, the upward reach of life when weariness closes in upon all endeavor. This is the basis of hope. In moments of despair, the incentive to carry on when times are out of joint and men have lost their reason, the source of confidence when worlds crash and dreams whiten to ash. The birth of the child, life's most dramatic answer to death. This is the growing edge incarnate. Look well then to the growing edge. So ends the reading.
I go for a walk every morning. I am blessed to live near a gorgeous part of the Prairie Trail, and walking there feels as though I'm walking through a tunnel of green. My habit is to walk early in the morning. I started doing that this summer because I wanted to take my walk before the heat and humidity really set in, but I found I also appreciated that at that time of day, I encounter fewer people and more wildlife. The trail changes a little bit every day. I have watched as the foliage filled out over time, how the wildflowers bloomed and then wilted. I notice the depth of the creek rise and fall with how much rain we have received. Last week, however, change seemed to happen all at once. One morning, I stepped outside and realized I needed a jacket. The next day, I noticed berries on a bush where there had been none. Consistently, every day, there are more and more leaves on the ground. And I hear the crunch of acorns under my feet and watch as the squirrels gather them up, along with walnuts and other provisions to get them through the winter. This coming Tuesday is the autumn equinox, but I have felt the fall in my bones already this week. The equinox is a time of balance. The day and nighttime are equal in measure. In neo-pagan traditions, this is the occasion of a Thanksgiving festival, a celebration of the harvest of the fruits of the growing season. Many of us grew food or flowers this year. Some of us spent time out in nature. Perhaps you watched some of the same changes that I did. If you haven't yet, this is the perfect time to give thanks for all that nature has produced, both with and without our help. In the way the neo-pagans frame this holiday, it's also a time for taking stock of what we have grown in our personal and communal lives over the past growing season, to inventory our personal harvest. And here, my friends, is where I started to get stuck. I found myself feeling like nothing had happened since the spring equinox. I felt like I had spent the summer in a holding pattern, trying to keep things functioning well enough to eventually pick up the pieces whenever we reach that quasi-mythical return to doing things the normal way. I had done a lot of reading. I went camping once. I had observed nature's growing edge, but what had I actually accomplished? And in looking at the larger society, I was equally demoralized. We are still in the midst of a global pandemic, still grappling with climate crisis, still facing racial inequality and violence. Where is our harvest? It's part of my personal spiritual practice that when I am spiraling downward emotionally like this, I try to get out of my own head and lean into my relationships. And it was here that my thinking began to turn around. Casting my gaze back over these past few months of living so closely together, I realized that my family relationships have flourished. We have become more open to sharing our inner lives with one another, and we have learned to be together in comfortable silences. We've developed new traditions, like playing cards and going on walks together. And we have even practiced more compassionate ways of confronting each other about those annoying little habits that we all have. My parents, who live in Nebraska, have learned to use Zoom, and I've connected with them more regularly than I have in a long time. I'm no longer relying on chance encounters to reconnect with friends either. I have made a point of reaching out and even getting together when we can do so safely. And when I realize how grateful I am for someone's role in my life, I let them know right away, because I have come to realize how precious and transient our time together is. Taking a second look at our society, I did find a harvest to reap there as well. Scientists around the world are collaborating to better understand the COVID-19 virus. They're developing more effective treatments and working toward a vaccine. There has been a collective awakening to the severe racial inequality in our country, and more Americans are outraged and demanding change. A new openness to reallocating resources and holding those who abuse power accountable. Yes, wildfires and hurricanes continue to devastate parts of the country, but more people are realizing the urgency of our climate crisis and open to radical change to fight it. Once I knew the types of things I was looking for, I discovered that this year's emotional and social harvest is abundant. I came back to work at the church and found that groups who normally took the summer off were continuing to meet, sometimes more often than before. Rachel and her team had created a brand new vision for our fall auction event, taking this thing virtual. In fact, the staff have found a number of creative ways to do so many of our church activities. All of us, you and Lucas and I, have adapted to this virtual worship format. Lucas and his team are preparing a year-long anti-racism program for education and action. Jonathan and the teams he works with are deepening the spiritual lives of our children and newcomers, and letting the community know that even though our doors are closed, this congregation is vibrant and nourishing. The racial justice and social action teams have continued to take action for policy change in the world in creative and effective collaboration with our community partners and other UUs around the country, making sure that everyone knows their vote counts and their voice deserves to be heard. And your board held their annual retreat virtually this year and created a vision of the shared ministry that we will all engage in the year ahead. Taking my cue from the squirrels I saw on my walk, I have to remember that the harvest isn't just about looking back. Yes, it is important to pause in this moment of balance and give thanks for all the progress and flourishing that has resulted from this past growing season. We can have our emotional harvest feast, but a harvest is also meant to nourish and sustain us through any more meager times we may encounter in the future. We have acquired new skills. We have strengthened our relationships. We have deepened the value of interconnectedness as a congregation and as a society and as a web of life on this precious earth. We harvest these seeds to plant our new growth in the future. This is a harvest of hope. I challenge each of you this week to take a virtual walk through your life. Cultivate a deep gratitude for those ways that you have grown over the past months, how your connections have blossomed, the new skills that you have developed. Store this harvest in your heart. Be willing to share it with others when they feel depleted. And when the conditions are right, till the soil and plant anew. May it be so, and blessed be.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the good of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power in each other's faith. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
My beloved companions, may the truth that makes us free, and the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out all fear, lead us forward together till the day breaks and the shadows flee away. Gentle people, go in peace.